9 April 2025, Granby Conservation. We're meeting on Wednesday night tonight. The reason we didn't meet last night is we had a town meeting. And so we're meeting on Wednesday. So we have a couple of things on the agenda for tonight. We have no public hearings at 7:30. We have some old business. And we have a walk-in special guest. And we have our normal laundry list of items. So without further ado, I think Jamie and Marilyn. So folks,
Start at the shed of Harmony.
yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So, good evening, thanks for coming aboard today.
Thank you.
The reason we're bringing you in is through various drive-bys and so on and so forth, we understand that you're selling portable sheds in the yard now. We're cognizant of the fact that some of them may indeed be within the wetland buffer. We don't think any are in the wetland proper, which is a good thing, but they're in the buffer, which is essentially subject to review from the commission. So we just want to make you aware of the fact that we would like to be made aware of any movement of these sheds and other items that you'll be installing on your property in the vicinity of the rear, again, near that wetland stream area. So,
Could I do the work, because you and I talked about.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Basically, what we had talked about was the work we're concerned and most interested in the tree removal that occurred, not necessarily the sheds. And we did a quick analysis on the property. And this is from Mass Mapper, which is provided by GIS. It's a state provided area. But it identifies here, when I talk about State Street, which is this, there's a finger that goes all the way over to Crescent. We're not interested in that. The work you were doing was removing trees and brush and everything along 202. According to this map, you were outside the 100-foot buffer and 200-foot riverfront area. Because it's showing these buffer lines about the edge of the tree line, which is behind your parking lot. Okay, but as Bill is pointing out, this is a general idea of where wetlands exist. It's not that accurate. So typically, when people are doing things so close to a riverfront especially, and a wetland buffer, is we'd like to be made aware of it.
Yeah, run it by the commission so you don't get into hot water with the state in particular.
So, and there's lots of people that drive by here. Sure. Everybody knows it's wetland, so everybody's like, okay, we have to now get involved. So this shows that they're probably, because I took some pictures, and everybody, I don't know if anybody's driven by now, but the storage bins or the little sheds are all placed in this area. So they look fine.
So Dave, in your opinion, are the sheds placed outside of the buffer and riverfront area?
If you follow the Mass Mapper as a guide, they appear to be outside the 100-foot buffer and the 200-foot riverfront.
Now there's some semi-tractor trailer boxes behind the building. Where are those?
The buildings over here,
Okay.
and that would be in this area here where the tree line cleaned out under the trees, but the trees are still there.
Oh.
So this, I think, represents correctly where the tree line exists in the parking lot that wraps around the building here. I can show you an overview of this, but this is clear to understand. Again, the point I'm trying to make, when you drive on Crescent Street, which is on this line here, you can see when this creek or river, it's a perennial stream at this point, goes underneath Crescent Street, it takes a pretty sharp left going away from the property. So, and this map actually shows the line up here. That's what I try to represent on this. So these are the perennial streams. If you take the closer of the two, it still appears, and I'm using the scale that they provide, it still appears that the tree line that's behind your property appears to be where these buffer boundaries exist. But what gives everybody concern, I guess, is it accurate? It looks accurate to me once you drive around. I didn't do a lot of walking because technically we're not supposed to walk on other people's
Yeah,
property.
would you mind if we go site visit with you at some point in the near future? Would that work with you?
You know.
It's all cleared up at this point, it looks very nice, and the sheds are in place, so I think they would welcome people.
Yeah, I think for guidance, the commission, we could set up a site visit, maybe some Saturday morning at night. Are you available Saturday morning? Sure.
Earlier the better.
Okay. Again, we all want to work together and make sure everybody's on the same page. Sure. No, that's wonderful.
So, that dotted line, that's the.
Again, that's a guesstimate.
Yes, on this drawing, that's.
On this drawing, there's, and it's hard to see where you're sitting, but there's a marking of what is this one.
Sure.
And you've got, in this tree line, there's a pretty sharp rate change.
Yes.
People before you have filled this area, and the wetlands at the bottom of the grade change. But these trees are on that whole zone, and again, a site visit really would clarify that.
Yeah, on the ground visit is much more accurate.
We've looked at your property, obviously, once with you and with other people as well. The previous owners had us walk around, but they're always in different locations. Just because we were on the property doesn't mean we actually focused on this particular area.
Sure.
Our concern is in what I labeled the work area.
Yes, sure.
Because this tree line has been removed now, and you pushed it back farther, because this would be where the sheds are. So, and it's more than a tree line, there's a lot of pickle and brambles and all sorts of.
It's that most of it was actually paved.
Well, you said, yes, and I vaguely remember that
Yeah.
old paving, but the paving breaks up, turns into a gravel.
Well, it's pretty solid in a lot of it.
It's pretty. Well, it doesn't matter, there are trees on it, there's the big on it, so I think the reason the tree line is where it's at, that's because that's where the boundary was set. So,
Let's ask some of the other commissioners. Bob, any comments on this project? No. Kev? Did you drive by? Okay, any questions?
Looks like we posted one, so let's take a look.
Yeah, I think the hard one review.
if we do a site visit,
And any questions on your end?
No, I haven't even noticed it, so yeah, site visit would be great.
Okay. Dave, would you coordinate with Jamie and Marilyn?
Sure, that's
Some
fine.
Saturday.
there's a fee for us to buy it, say, it was $75. That's all right. So, people, I understand. I didn't think we just, I know, I came out of the post office and took a right. Oh, yes. What's in this? Yes. I'm sorry, guys, I can't understand. What you're talking about this.
No, Bobby said he drove by today incidentally because we're trying to avoid the traffic jam at five corners of the
Yes.
shared operations.
Did you notice the?
Oh, yeah.
It was nice.
Thank you.
So, to be clear, when you were speaking earlier about the sheds, are the sheds not, excuse me, are the sheds not permitted to be on the ground?
That's
The
not-
issue between you and the planning board and the sheds, that's not our issue.
No, that's not.
Actually, I will shift gears for 30 seconds as a health department member. I think you have a building that you're selling food out of.
No one's selling anything out of it. We're cleaning it up.
Okay. There was
Is that the one behind the
There was a
building?
comment that there was some food being served. If you are planning on serving food, call Colleen Aberdale to help.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With your
It's
program.
on our list.
Nothing is being served. It's not open
I'll
at all.
take the board of health. and that cost.
Yeah, we're working on that. That's our
Okay,
next.
thank you.
Thanks.
Work with the health department.
That's a good point, though, because we're talking about two different areas here. This area is outside of the buffers. What you're bringing up is actually the picnic table and shed, I think you're cleaning it up.
Yeah.
That's behind the building, so that probably is within the buffer.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't do it, but it does require our participation.
Sure.
Oh, good.
This is a little bit different because you're outside the jurisdiction.
Sure.
Over here, because you're closer to the wetland, you're within the 100-foot.
Okay.
So we really need to be part of whatever you decide to do there. And I saw the picnic tables, I saw the building.
Sure.
It does look like you're selling hot dogs. but we're not selling anything, that's your, that's where we can all go.
No, that would never,
I'll relay that to the board.
oh, yeah.
So, two questions.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the dotted line there. And so if the sheds were past the dotted line, is that an issue?
It's something that we need to be aware of, quite
Okay.
honestly. When you're in the buffer,
Okay.
it's within the jurisdictional review of this commission.
Gotcha.
We're required to follow the guidelines of the law,
Okay.
okay? That doesn't mean you can't do anything, but we're required to follow the law. If you're within this buffer.
Okay.
Also, if you're within the 200-foot riverfront, there are different
It
rules.
turns out the riverfront resource area is a little more
It's
stringent
more strict.
than the wetland buffer
And
itself.
where exactly is that approximately on that?
Well,
Yeah, these are good.
it's tied to where those perennial streams are.
I see.
So if you know, if you recognize these streams are heading off into the
Yes.
middle of the swamp, I'll call it.
Yeah. It's messy back in
Yeah, it does. So,
there. Okay, so that, and my second question, it's unrelated to the map. So regarding the food stand, what is our, you say it requires your involvement, what is the process of doing that properly?
The food stand from a health perspective is the board has to.
No, I'm not them, if we're in the,
If you're in the buffer, you may have to file for RDA, which is a Form 1 permit. It's a simple permit. You may have to file for.
so where do we get that from?
No, you would talk to Dave.
Okay. We'll start there.
But again, when we go our walk around on Saturday morning, we can discuss that with you.
Okay, perfect.
it works really well if you know.
Yeah.
So when did we decide while I was,
So we decided, they're concerned about the permitting process for the picnic tables.
well, that's gonna
And I said, while we do our site visit on Saturday morning, we can actually discuss some concepts regarding permitting activities for those picnic tables.
typically that's not a conservation commission item, but because he's on the board of health, he can help.
Yes.
But again, if the picnic tables are in the buffer, or the wetland buffer, then certainly we would be discussing.
Well, that's true, that's true.
That's
Well, thanks so much for coming.
nice to see you. I saw you today.
Yes. Oh, you still have your Tesla. Hope you didn't sell your Tesla.
It's in the shop right now.
Oh,
My daughter was unfortunately involved in it. Thank goodness to Tesla's have cameras and it was a, right on the other.
You know what that means? You gotta get her a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
All right, enough political.
Set up the site visit.
Yes,
You don't have our email address?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think we're looking at this Saturday. Well,
No.
yeah.
no,
Hey, Sarah.
yeah.
I, in full disclosure and transparency, I want to have you show off there and be surprised about anything you see. So, my son and myself and his friend were responsible for clearing the trees. And I think we did a pretty good job. But the gentleman that came in after us, we rented a woodchopper and got rid of all the branches. And then, somebody come in with a bobcat and it's all pushed towards that. It's well within that 100 feet.
Things into
They
the,
did not push.
no,
But I was not present when he did push it.
All right, so that will be a talking point while we're on. site.
Yes.
That's fine.
we'll see that.
No
That's
worries.
what they see. Yeah.
Well, it's just brush.
No worries.
Yeah, there was nothing else.
Hey,
Well,
Jamie, Marilyn, good to see you guys.
Very good to see you. Thank you for all the
Thank you
work
so
that you
much.
do. We appreciate
Well,
you
we're
guys
trying
very
to try
much.
our best.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll schedule a site visit though.
Oh, yeah, David.
Now, before we,
Bob and Kev, whenever you guys want, I'm more flexible than most, so whenever you want to do it.
okay, I'll coordinate with everybody and you're all invited to come as usual. So this one
Thank you,
looks like
Dave.
it'll be a Saturday. The next one, we had another quick one, real real quick, Bill, just to bring everybody up to speed. Homeowner at 272 Bachelor Street. He is in need of a new, I did talk to him about his project. He's not replacing his entire septic system. He had somebody out to pump his septic tank, and the septic tank failed. So the recommendation came back, you have to change your septic tank and distribution box. So that's the project. And they have paid off their mortgage, they have equity in the house, and they went back to the bank to get a small home equity loan to pay this all off. And somebody looked at the FEMA flood maps, and this is an estate lot on the south side of Bachelor Street.
Dave, could you call it up on the computer?
Sure. I think it's right here, actually. No.
Dave, I like the font you use. That's Arial. I use Arial for that application too. It's a nice looking font.
Speaker, yes. What's that, Bill?
No, you used the Arial font when you made that graphic up. It looked nice.
What are we looking for here?
A mass map.
Mass map.
Google Earth. Google Earth.
No, I've got it up already. I just have to open up the right application here. So the property, this is, just to give everybody a lay of the land, this is Bachelor Street. This is McDonald Avenue. This is Tromke Avenue. And this is Harris Mountain Road coming down from the hill. So this estate lot that we're talking about is back here. It's 272. And it's access to Bachelor Street off of this driveway. So as you can see, when you go to the aerial map, this is the property here. And it's cleared, and he told me he bought a gravel pit. You know, there's all gravel along Bachelor's Road. He bought a gravel pit to do his house. He put the house on grade, and there were mounds of gravel all around that had been left. He took all of that and he brought it to the house, and he set the house up about 8 feet. So he didn't dig down into any gravel per se to put the house on, but it wraps around. This is Bachelor Brook here, and you can see there's clear wetlands here, and all of this is wetland. And when you go to the FEMA map, Bill and I were looking at this earlier today. We're guessing this is the same curve in Bachelor Brook, or Bachelor Street. This is Harris Mountain Road. There is no McDonald because this is a 1980 map, but Tromke Avenue exists, which is right here. And this line, you would see it as Bachelor Brook. So we are guessing his property is here, where his house is sitting, we guess, is on this peninsula. And the flood zone that the bank was looking at is this whole area that wraps around. So whatever is not brook is wetland, but it's the floodplain. And that's what the bank, this all is being generated because he's going to the same lender, and he got his mortgage, and he has 2 other home equity lines, and it's paid off. This is the 3rd one. And now they're asking him to put flood insurance on his property. He didn't tell me how much it is, but he said it's super expensive. So they said, well, get somebody to verify that your property isn't in a floodplain. And like many of the property owners in Granby, parts of our land are floodplain, but where you have your house doesn't necessarily, I mean, you don't want your house in a floodplain for obvious reasons. So Bill and I talked about it, and our recommendation, which I relayed to him, is we as a body cannot tell him that your house is there because we don't know that. We can't verify that. That's not our position. We can say, yes, you've got, your property is in a flood zone, but you have to verify with a professional land surveyor to verify where your house is in relationship to that flood line boundary, and use him, pay a professional to verify that boundary.
I was thinking about that, Dave, after we spoke, and I was thinking, if what he wanted was for use by another public entity, particularly in town, I think then we could undertake the assignment. But since it's being used by a private institution, namely a commercial bank, which is probably gonna outsource the mortgage to third parties, then the liability goes up like a rocket.
And I explained, we as a town entity can't take on that liability. And he understood. He said, you're helping me, you're giving me a lot of guidance. And actually, he still has the old survey of when he bought the property. And he said, he seems to think they showed where there was a flood line or where the wetlands were located. But it's when he bought the property and it doesn't show where the house is located. So I said, well, go to the lender to see if you can tell them the house is here. I said, I'm guessing they're gonna say, get somebody to verify where the house is.
Dave, what year approximately did he build this house?
He didn't share that with me though.
Reason being is, I hope these piles of sand and gravel are not located in the floodplain. Because that's another issue, which again, it's been so long, we're not gonna
No.
raise it as an issue, but it is a potential issue.
Well, this map alone, like I said, is 1980,
It's 45 years old.
so it's older than Anne.
Right.
Yeah, of course. Wait.
Kev, it's almost old as you. You're 45, aren't you, Kev?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's older than you. Older than Kev.
So anyway,
Well,
this is something, this is a call that came in. We handled, I did a little bit of research. Bill and I reviewed it. I made the recommendation to the homeowner. He thanked me for it and said, see you again if I need to. So, but I thought for the building, for the Board of Health, have you heard when they just changed the septic tank in the D-box that they're gonna leave the leach field alone?
I've heard of that.
Oh, that's what they did at my house. Well, they did that to your house too, and you got Title V certification? I mean, you need something that says it's an approved Title V for any lending in any bank.
here's what the Board of Health voted Monday night, which was kind of an important point. On an existing leach field for Title V inspection, prior to Monday night, you needed 3 feet of
Yeah.
separation off your water table. As of Monday night,
No.
18 inches.
Ah.
Bill, 18 inches, Dave.
Did somebody sue them or something? Why did they change that? We paid $40,000 for our
All
leach field.
all I know is I presented some technical information based on science and the Connecticut code,
Anyway,
and we voted to
That's
change
not
them.
business.
We voted to change them.
that's just Hartford.
That was the town's ordinance was 3 feet?
The town's ordinance was 3 feet.
What's the state?
The state was silent on existing systems. It was silent on existing systems.
What about the distance from the high water level though? Is that still,
No, on new construction, it has to be 4 feet.
it's still 4 feet?
On repairs, it is 4 feet preferably. However, it can be brought down to 3 feet. However, on Title V inspections of existing systems, it can be as little as 18 inches. That's what we've changed.
We had a perfectly operational leach field septic system that was replaced for $40,000. Now, it's a 5-bedroom house. It's not a small house, but
What happens if this guy's leaching fields are in the floodplain?
Leaching field cannot be in a floodplain. It cannot be in a
So,
floodplain.
so there's still a chance that his leaching fields are in floodplain.
That's a
even
good
if
point.
it's his house.
Actually, if the leaching field's in the floodplain, that means there's a good chance there's fill in the floodplain. And that creates a bit of a problem for him. However, we're not asked to opine on that, and I'd rather we not opine.
if he gets this land surveyor, which we recommended, and the land surveyor accurately draws the high water, the flood line of the
Yeah.
flood zone, which is what everybody's looking for, and his leaching system, this is still gonna have to go to the Board of Health, won't it?
Well, if he's
If
gonna
he's just
change, if he's gonna
replacing-
change the septic tank, it's gonna go to the Board of Health. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna see it then.
Yeah.
So remember 272 Bachelor Street.
Okay, Dave, thank you. Thanks for doing the research on that, Dave.
You said it was an estate, so is anybody there?
Was anybody there?
You said it was it's an estate lot. So is that
Yeah.
like, is it
Well-
in probate?
Oh, no, a state lot and is what we call a flag lot. It's a lot that has a very narrow opening and opens up to
Yeah.
several acres behind the main street.
Yeah.
That's what we call an estate lot.
Right,
This-
Oh, yeah, because Ann works for a state lawyer. She works on probate
Oh, you
cases.
thought it said
She's looking
state.
at it from a lawyer's perspective. Well, that's funny. That's all
Well,
right.
no, it's
There's a lot of those in town.
it's state.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of estate lots in
I've
Granby.
always called them estate, but I've heard people call them pork chop lots.
Yes, or flag lots. They call them two or three different.
I mean, there's all sorts
Yeah.
of names, basically, and they're talking about the street is up here, you can see the narrow road, you
Yeah.
can see a number of driveways like that. You need to have a minimum of 40 feet width to put a driveway down. And then as long as you have a lot back here, that's, 60.
I think it's gotta be 80,000 square feet exclusive of the entryway, I believe.
80,000?
Exclusive of the entry. It's
Well,
plus or minus.
That's like 4 or 5 acres, that's a big.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's much bigger. But here's the thing, and again, this is not to criticize Mr., what's his last name? Tells?
Oh. I don't know what.
And anyway, not to
Oh,
criticize the owner,
okay.
but it turns out when people build on estate lots, they're way off the road. And sometimes they take liberty as to what they do because they know they can't be seen by you. That's exactly right.
Now, the people in the front yard, is it their property originally that sold?
You have to go to Northampton and start researching how the property was subdivided. It's really difficult.
They're all different cases.
And usually the people that did the subdivision, Kevin, aren't alive any longer. These are second and third generation.
Yeah, the rule of thumb is you always had to have 150 feet of frontage. However, at the end of the line, you could put in an estate lot if you met the proper criterion. However, the town over the past 25 years has allowed more estate lots to go in than was traditional, let's just put it that.
Well, because
Yeah.
everybody builds along the street.
That's right.
And we are a farming community, so all the land in the back that was a farm, a gravel pit, and you name
It was
it,
good land.
was good land, and there's
Right.
people today that like being off the street. So going down a driveway by other houses is no problem. And they usually put in, those are very nice lots usually. They're nice lots and they're nice homes. So,
Yeah, I'm envious of those people.
so anyway, that was a call that just came in on Monday.
Sorry, so the driveway, the 40-foot driveway, they own that land too. It's not an easement.
This is. it
Yes,
looks-
they own it in fee. It's owned in fee, yes, yes. It's owned out and out in fee, yes.
Yeah, all right. Now, we're gonna roll, we have to go, can we still talk? Because there's no public hearings, so we don't have to worry about the 7.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
Because the next one I have for us to talk about is,
Well,
and,
you want to do Curtis Milieu.
yeah, Curtis here, 35, whoops,
Is that discussion closed?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just closed 272. Do you have another comment?
No.
Yeah, so 272 Bachelor is closed for now.
Yeah. All right, what was 35 Bags Hill Road?
But again, the whole point is sometimes homeowners come to us and they want us to certify particular technical issues. If the certification was for use by another town entity, it's probably okay if we get involved, but if it's for use by a private corporate party, it's best that we not get involved. That's my rule, which I think is a fair rule.
Well, I think it's safety that we've got to.
Yeah, we gotta
We have to
protect
be
the town
thinking
from a
about the
lawsuit.
town.
That's
If
right.
there is a lawsuit, they're
Yeah.
gonna come to the town for deep
right.
pockets, and
That's
that, we don't want that. This is a site visit that Bill and I completed for Curtis Melo. He lives at 35 Bags Hill Road. He's in the process of changing out his existing 22 by 26-foot garage for a new garage. Bill and I went out to the site on November 2nd to do an inspection. And this is what we saw. This is at the very end of, whoops. It's still there. This is at the very end of Bags Hill Road. So the road comes up, it becomes a paper street. This makes it look like it's a real street. It's not. His driveway is basically at the end of the street. There's a house across the street. And what is showing as this dark line is actually the proposed garage. And I understood, and he wrote in his RDA, he's requesting a determination here for where the wetlands are, because he has wetlands over here, as well as all, probably safer. The wetlands that are in question are these right here, but there's wetlands all over right there. This is an isolated wetland, and what we were wondering about is the distance of where this wetland is to the new construction site. And it appears that the 100-foot buffer, using the map scale, goes right through the middle of the garage. Now, after our review, this is a relatively flat site. We did ask, and he's going to install a silt fence, but he came back a couple weeks ago to me saying, you wrote down the wrong number in the size of the garage. It's not 26 feet wide, it's 30 feet wide. Now, I can't find any documentation from him or anything that I wrote, because I filled out the determination and sent it back to him. He never corrected it. And he didn't, and the site visit that we were on, Bill and I wrote down that he told us it's 26 feet, or he didn't change it, let's put it that way. So he's coming back at this late, he wants to start the construction, and he wants to build a 30-foot wide by 40-foot deep garage. So the house is right here. I'm assuming the house is not going to move, and the distance from the house is not going to change. So if you're going to add 4 feet to the width of the garage, it's going to move into the buffer closer. But we are already at the 100-foot buffer goes to the middle of the garage. So we're guessing he had an 80-foot separation between the boundary of the wetland and where the building was. And if he's going to make the building 4 foot wider, instead of 80, it's going to be like 76 feet. It's still significantly far away. He is going to place a silt fence in there. He's going to let us know when the silt fence is there, and we can go out and take a look at it. This, like I said, it's relatively flat. There is some grade change, but it's very subtle. And I feel a little culpable because clearly when I wrote the determination on his application, he wrote 22 feet by 26 feet existing garage. And he wanted to make it a 26 by 40 foot existing brand new garage. And so when I wrote the determination, I used the wrong area. So I'm a little culpable, but he didn't correct me. So I went to Bill and I said, what do we do? Because he's now going to file for a building permit. And he's going to write on the building permit that he's building a 30-foot by 40 garage. And if they look at this document, which is now public record, they're going to say, well, wait a second, you were approved to build a 26-foot wide. And as Bill was commenting, some communities changing even 4 feet would give everybody heartburn. Like, where did that happen? How did this, oh my God, the world's coming to me. And I'm like, well, partly it's my fault, but partly why are we giving him any difficulty here? It's a mistake. He's trying to correct it. How do we correct it? I don't know if we can, I don't think we can just let it slide. I think, do we have to put an amendment to the determination? This didn't go to DEP, it stayed local, but we have to put something, I'm putting it on the table.
Oh, no, what do you guys want to do?
Is there an official amendment form?
No, I think
I don't
what we
think
can
we
do is we can just make a motion to amend and vote on it, and that would be it. And just put it in the public record as a, so I would.
Well, it would go into our minutes. It'll
Yeah.
go into the minutes and we can, I don't know, do we send a letter to the
Yeah,
applicant?
send them a little note, send them an email. But I would say it's
Oh.
a de minimis change, it's a de minimis change.
Yeah.
Again, 4 feet in the grand scheme of things is de minimis.
Yeah.
It's only 5%. So are you guys good with that?
I'm good.
Ann, are you okay with that?
Okay, sure, okay. I don't really know, I'm gonna.
Again,
I'm not gonna take-
if we were in certain communities around the Commonwealth, like Dave says, then we'd have to have a reopened hearing, the
No,
whole 9 yards, but again, I think it's de minimis. So I move that we, approve the change as stated by Dave.
Second. Thank you.
Any more discussion? No? All in favor? Aye, okay. That's it, unanimous, Dave, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right,
What else we got?
that's the end of the people that that were part of the open session. We don't have anything, as you can see from the agenda. There are no public hearings. Other business, I did speak.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Go ahead.
I did speak with Dave DeRocher regarding this 61 Pleasant Street, and it's really more than that. It's the whole Five Corners work that's going on at this point now. They, to talk about that or opine about that, the work at Five Corners that's being done by the Department of Transportation, they're finishing that up this year. So they're going to be coming to the commission at some point this year to ask for a certificate of compliance. They can't do that until all the work is completed, but related to us, the site work, which had to do with improvements around the circle at the intersection of School Street and Route 202. We also have the new stormwater, I'll call it a retention area, but it's a compensation area basically off of Forge Pond. That was completed last year or 2 years ago at this point.
I think last year.
Okay. And just recently, this year, they added the extended, at Five Corners, they had to extend the wetland because they took wetland. When they moved the driveway on Cumbies, they actually took wetland. So they had to replace that by 1.5 times. And it's on the north side of the swamp, I'll call it, the wetland area. Now that's already been installed and that's sitting there ready to be inspected. They have if you drive by that section of 202, you'll see the tractor that they use to create the work. They still have the tractor parked there, which gives you a hint that if you look beyond the tractor, you'll see the wetland with the boundaries and they've got the silt fence up still. So I guess they have to plant some things there, and I don't know if that's been done yet, but I think they're gonna be, and according to their schedule I was reading, this is the year they're gonna be coming back to us for that. But the point, how that's relative to 61 Pleasant Street is, we're trying to mitigate or improve the maintenance on the detention basins that have been installed around Cumberland Farms. Those detention basins were installed, haven't been taken care of. And so there's all sorts of stuff growing in there. In this past year, when they were doing their work on 202, they couldn't get the drains to work because the detention basin was so clogged up with debris. And it's vegetation debris. It's not trash. It's trees and weeds and everything else that have been falling in for years. So, anyway, we were going to coordinate a meeting with Dave DeRocher on a Saturday again to try to make a plan, I guess is the best way to say it. We have reached out, we've sent a number of letters to the state without any response. But with this project rolling to a close, if we want to tie something to it, if we can, or will this be a new area?
Well, I think frankly, if we're issuing a COC, part of the criterion for issuing the COC is for the state to come down and chit chat with us about maintaining these basins.
Well, that
I hate
probably would be a place,
to do leverage, but this is kind of a leverage point.
but that would be a place that we have some leverage. Because otherwise, I don't see how we have any
That's right.
leverage.
That's what we're taking the leverage from the president.
He's a good example.
You know,
Any questions? I mean, does that sound right to you?
that makes no sense to me.
Or Bob?
Yeah.
No? So again, that's a scheduled meeting that we'll set up and you can attend if you can, if you can't, you can't.
Did they ever do anything with the drainage from behind that Duncan area to that? We were talking about that.
Well, we had talked about that, and that's gonna be part of the discussion, because that enters, that's the top, if you will, on that side of the
Yeah,
street.
it's upgrading.
Everything drains.
And I was
from
hoping
there.
they'd put a protective basket over the pipe to prevent logs and junk and mud from getting into the pipe.
When we have the summer downpours,
Yeah.
that pond fills up.
Right.
And it's got a very small outlet.
Right.
I mean, that's part of the reason, because what happens is that winds up holding water, and then it pushes up into the homes, into the basements of the homes that are right next door.
So that'll be part of our talking.
But that's on private property. That's part of the challenge.
Okay. David, thank you.
All right.
All right, let's go through our administratives. Commentary, we've already discussed things. Next meeting, May.
Could I do something on the
Oh, sure.
commentary?
Go ahead.
Real quick. This came up also during conversation. Basically, the improvements that Eversource again is doing on the right of way. We talked about this once before. The right of way that's along the Granby Belton line is being widened, being improved. So because they're working in wetlands, they came to us this past couple of weeks looking for a mitigation project. So I think we talked about this, Bill. There is another culvert next to on Bachelor Street that goes into Bachelor Brook. That is in dire need of repair. It's near Tromke Avenue. It's right next to Tromke Avenue intersection. So I spoke to Bill, gave me the advice, let's talk to Dave Rocher. He gave us a recommendation, let's identify that for them. And so we wrote a letter back to Eversource, and they said, thank you very much, we'll take that and put it into the bin. So we'll see, maybe we'll get another culvert design that looks like a bridge.
That'll be fabulous.
I don't know if anybody's been to the Bachelor Brook, the Eversource, what they did at the other end of the street, and it's down by,
That one and the one on Tromke, because that one's a mess.
where, on Tromke?
By
Oh, well,
Tromke.
that's a private.
That's private, that's private.
That was really bad.
Yeah, but that's private.
And the one over, so it would be great if they even fix the other one down Bachelor, but.
So right next to Tromke is a creek coming down Harris Mountain, and that's got a small pipe, so we gave them that, and they said, thank you, and so
Great, wonderful, wonderful.
we'll see what happens.
Okay. Okay, next meeting, I think we're back on the Tuesday schedule.
Yes, that's a Tuesday
So
meeting.
May 13th, 7 o'clock, right here at Carnegie Hall.
Yep. Do we have to vote on that?
No.
Okay. All right,
Just as an aside, though. The running joke, Bob, you'll appreciate this as a musician. Calling this place Carnegie Hall is tremendous because of the horrible acoustics of this place. That's another story in itself. Okay, approved meetings, March 11th. Bob, did you look at the,
I did. I didn't find
Okay.
anything wrong.
okay. Kevin, you looked at it? Okay,
very
very
good
good.
correction.
Okay.
No, we're good.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for March 11th.
Well, second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, bills to pay, Desolate Consulting. What do you got, Dave?
I do, I have them right here. I have a couple of.
Very good, sir.
Only one needs to be signed. Here, Bill, let me,
Well, that's good, very
if
good.
you could just put your John Hancock.
Of course.
Put your John Hancock
Of
in a
course, yeah,
date.
yeah, right here, yeah.
Looks good to me. No, only one of us has to sign it, right?
He's doing it.
Yeah, there you go.
Approved.
And you wanna look at it?
I saw when I was here.
We're all good, we're all good, David, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Sir, very good. I hope we're back on a more frequent payment
Spend it all in
schedule.
one place.
It took a while for you to get.
But that was, Kathy went on vacation, she explained it to me, all right.
Okay, financial accounts. Dave, what do we
I
have?
have that right none of us, it looks like pretty much everything is in good order. I have the March one in front of me and the new April 3rd one. And this identifies accounts that we have that we're holding money on. So we've got the Booton property on Center Street, he evidently, that's only 59 cents are left in it. I don't know what we do with
That-
if there's small amounts like that that are left there.
That and just gonna probably stay there forever.
Why do we even have it? So anyway, then Dakota Richards on Burnett Street, he had $410.20, but they're showing a minus $202.46, like they gave him $2.46 too much.
They overpaid him. Well,
So really good consulting. Good. So,
By the time you pay for postage, it's probably.
well, the thing is, why should it still be here? These are things, I wouldn't take that long. Anyway, the long story short, to go quick. Everything stayed the same from March to April, except the hatch fund has some activity in it where some money was expended, $547. It doesn't say where the money went, but they took some money out, but they also put money in, $2,215.
could you follow up with Kathy to see what that?
Well, this Kathy doesn't do this. This is Mr. Nally.
Like, could you follow up with him?
I can, but he's not returning. Anyway, the long story short, we had unexpended a balance last month of $102,425.09. And today we're at $102,706.67, which is like a 3% increase, I guess. So, and I don't know, maybe that was interest on the thing, but that's what's associated to the Conservation Commission.
But again, I think it's important that we know where these monies come from and are going. So
Right.
if you could follow up with Natalie.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it for this.
Okay, outreach education plan for the week. Ann, what do you have first this evening?
Okay. I did not bring it in.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll look it up on the computer, no worries.
And I did bring pictures. So you can like.
I know it well.
No, all right, so.
Yeah, I think-
Anybody wants it, okay.
There's something I can put up on the screen?
I don't know, it's on my phone.
You don't know what a skunk cabbage is?
Oh, skunk cabbage, is that the plant of the
Like-
week? Oh, okay.
I mean,
Okay.
Well, Wikipedia, I can find all sorts of stuff.
Said you didn't bring it in, I said, thank you.
Oh, I hear it. Okay, I didn't hear it.
On the Wisconsin Botanical Education site, they have good pictures. But and these are good if anyone wants, because right now, they're just coming out,
Right.
so you get the full effect. But of course, if I was gonna bring it in, damaging the leaf, just stink out the place.
Typically the skunk cabbage is an obligate plant. It's not fact wet, it's not fact wet plus or minus, it's obligate, which means it's within a couple of inches of the water table during the growing season. So when you see skunk cabbage and you dig a hole or an auger hole or whatever, you're gonna hit water real quick.
Oh, yeah, no, and it's in floodplain, that's where I had to
Oh,
go to get it.
Now, Kevin, you're an expert at skunk cabbage from your work on the golf courses, so what's your commentary on skunk cabbage?
Well, it's obvious because it's one of the first things to green up and when everything's dormant going into spring, it's like one of the first ones. It's very obvious.
Right, and that's because it also can heat itself. It's one of the few plants that does thermogenesis. So it can stink and it can heat itself. So that's why it comes up so early. It can come up when the ground is frozen. It can come up in, in the snow. And,
Is it a legume?
I don't think so. It's an alum family plant. So it's faded flower plant, like lilies, like calla lilies, peace lilies.
Okay.
And, So it can actually make itself 15 to 35 degrees warmer inside,
Wow.
where the
Makes its
flower
own-
faded.
Oh, it heats it.
Makes its own, it
Oh,
makes
it
its
heats
own heat.
itself. So it's exothermic then. That's really cool.
Yeah, it does that by cyanide-resistant cellular respiration, by how it consumes and processes carbohydrate in its fleshy root system.
Well, you know who's gonna use that technology? Musk is gonna take that to Mars and they're gonna use it to heat the plants, you know, the housing around Mars.
There-
Watch. Elon Musk will take advantage of this.
I wish he would go to Mars.
I know, it's made him never return.
So it can keep the air inside the plant, you know, that much warmer than the outside for weeks at a time, so the plant can grow, and that's how it can pollinate, because other creatures, especially like insects, will go to it first,
Mm-hmm.
and act, you know, and then go to another plant, and so they pollinate that way.
Now, how does it propagate? Does it propagate subterranean or does it drop seeds or how does it propagate?
By the little like beetles and flies and gnats bringing seeds hither and thither because they're in there. They like go in there and then they go hither and thither with it and they
Oh. Okay.
just deposit it everywhere. But it takes like 5 to 7 years before any one skunk cabbage can even deposit seeds,
Huh.
can make seeds. It has to mature, so it takes 5 to 7 years. And these plants, the root system underground, can be decades old, and they think they can live for centuries, up to
Huh.
centuries.
So is this a wetland plant?
Very, very.
Yeah, it's an obligate wetland plant. It's the wettest of wetland plants.
So it's literally in the well.
Oh, yes,
in
it's
the
in
wetland.
the
Yeah.
wetland. Oh, yes.
It's not,
Yeah, if you see it.
And
it's
it needs
in the
really
wetland.
high water table to survive.
well, that's on my
Yeah.
property, that is where it exists.
Oh,
is
yes.
in the
Yeah.
swamp.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so there's the flower there, Dave. See the
Yeah.
flower there.
Well, they have a number, I've seen,
Like browner, like brownish around here in the
Hmm.
beginning, and then they, you know, the leaves grow up around it,
yeah, these are different varieties, I think.
and it can grow, yeah, so,
Because this says swamp lantern.
Oh, that's in
That's the
British
western
Columbia.
one.
Yeah.
Dave, that, the swamp lantern is from the west.
Oh,
We want the skunk cabbage from the northeast.
yeah, it's your Muddy Lake and Colloquium,
British
Columbia.
Columbia, yeah.
Eastern, here's an eastern skunk cabbage, an infinite spider.
That looks like ours. That looks like ours. That's pretty cool.
So the leaves can grow up to 3 feet long and a foot wide from every single bud. So it's actually pretty cool. I learned a bit about it that I did not know.
Here's a question. Do rodents live inside of it during the winter because of the heat?
Well, in the winter, it's dormant. It's like it falls back really quickly, it dissolves, and just pretty
Yeah.
much is gone by late summer.
Hmm.
But in early spring, that's when it's starting to, you know.
Yeah, it's growing now. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
growing now.
So early spring is when things are looking to it for heat, but honeybees will go to it for like sort of a stopover between hives and nectar sources. So and lizards and other some small creatures
Yeah, chameleons.
like will live near it because other predators they know hate the smell, so will stay away.
okay.
Here's a good example, Bill. of
Yeah.
the flowers are
Yeah.
melting the snow.
Oh, yeah, very good.
I don't know if I've seen that, but I've heard about, they do generate.
Yeah, well, I see them around the golf course and they poke through the ice pretty
Yeah.
easily too. That's interesting. Very good, Andy.
Well, there's more. Geese, ducks, grouse, pheasants, quail, they eat the seeds. But it's also a tad poisonous. It has a lot of protein in the leaves, but it also has oxalic acid crystals, which is also bad in spinach and rhubarb. So I guess you couldn't have too much of that either. But there's more in skunk cabbage.
So if you're living in the woods in the winter on survival mode, you can't eat these things.
Well, the leaves won't be around, but the roots will. Deer eat the roots for some reason. They're able to.
Huh.
No, I'm sorry, not deer. Bear eat the roots.
Did-
In the spring. Oh, sorry, what?
I was just gonna ask, in your research, did you find out what makes the skunk ever smell the way it does? Is it the acid in the?
So
in
it
the
didn't
sap?
say per se, but it's sort of like, you know, because it smells like
Very
really,
unique, it's a unique smell.
Yeah.
yeah,
Smells
yeah.
like skunks.
Well, again,
And I
it's,
think it's from the heat generation of the way it heats itself.
yeah, it's in an anaerobic environment too, so that probably has something.
So snapping turtles will eat it in the spring, bears will eat it, the leaves also in the spring when they come out of hibernation, deer will eat it because it's so rich in protein, and they'll eat the leaves throughout the summer. It has different levels of toxicity depending on the time of year and and what part of the plant. The roots are the most toxic. So, the really weird thing is that people, Native Americans, also eat it. I don't think that's a great idea, but just a little bit in your mouth, and it's sort of like 1,000, needles stinging your tongue.
Wow.
Might be like Limburger cheese.
Yeah.
Like what it says.
I mean, if you have too much, it can cause kidney failure and death. But in medicine, the Native Americans use it for asthma,
Wow.
rheumatism, dropsy, epilepsy, a whole bunch of stuff.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it is I think it's a good plant.
I think it is too. Hey, I'm just curious, because I like when you do these little presentations. How many days does it take for our video to upload to YouTube?
24 hours, but this one might be today.
So it's Wednesday, so by Friday, this might be online? Oh, wow, okay, that's good to know.
Also, for some reason in Tennessee, it's endangered because of overdevelopment. They're not leaving enough wetlands.
Right, right. That's why we're here.
Well, that's why the commissions are in existence. Okay, Ann, thank you again for your informative, time. Thank you. Okay, other news announcements, Dave?
That's it right now. I do have something coming down the pike. Had a reason to look at Norfolk, Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on their town website, and that's a small town in Connecticut.
Oh, it's northwestern Connecticut, Litchfield
Right
County.
underneath,
Oh, yeah.
right underneath, Sandus.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
Right adjacent. to
Yeah,
this town.
yeah, a buddy of mine that I went to grad school with, he was from Norfolk, and
Norfolk, yeah.
and his dad owned a septic service. They did
Oh.
septic system installations out there. And he had some interesting stories about the terrain. The terrain, it's very hilly and
Yeah.
very, very.
Well, it's in the Berkshire.
Oh, yes.
So-
Oh, yes.
But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I went on, I started navigating the site, I went on, they've got a conservation site. It's totally different than ours, but they had a website of people who are interested in finding invasive plants on their property and how do you deal with them. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. We don't have anything like that on our website.
Mhm.
So I clicked on it, and it turns out they're using a website from Amherst, University of Massachusetts. They're tying in, and evidently they've got a whole, so I just discovered it, but I think we should do.
You do the
show
same
it to you.
thing.
I think it's something that because we've got a number of people that like Granby, they don't call the swamps, they call them wetlands, and they look at them as a benefit. And there's people that are living in town and they want to work with the community, they want to get involved. And this would be an excellent example of what to do with if you buy a piece of property in Granby and you want to get involved with it, like the doctor from McDonald Avenue that
Mhm.
bought right at the bottom,
Mhm.
and he wanted to do that special garden.
Mhm.
This happened a year or so ago. But what I'm getting at is I think this would be a valuable tool, and it's in our backyard out of University of Massachusetts. And they're using it in Norfolk, Connecticut.
Mhm.
So I'd like to bring it up. I'll have a better
No, that's
presentation
good, Dave.
next time.
Just talking about invasives, I'm sure we all are pulling invasive this time of year. I've been pulling bittersweet for the past 3 weeks.
I just cut it now. It's too tough.
No, I pulled bittersweet, I'm pulling the roots out. However, the multiflora rose is too tough. I just cut that.
Yeah.
And that's another one that you really should try to get the roots out. Kev, any tips on getting rid of that stuff? Roundup on the multi-floor works, doesn't it? But you gotta do
I
multi.
like the multi-flora flowers.
You know,
so-
mechanically, and once you get rid of it,
I'm contradictory.
then it becomes something you have to stay on top of and maintain.
Oh, so even if you extract the visible root system, there's still enough residual matter in the ground that would cause it to start dropping.
And there's a seed bank, there's everything. It's obviously, it's happy over there and it's gonna come back. Yeah, you just gotta stay on top of it. It's a program.
The only thing in our area that we don't have is Japanese knotweed, which is a good thing, but I'm gonna keep that quiet because that will start showing up. But the bittersweet is horrible. It's just wrapping around everything.
Right here.
It's unsightly, it's so ugly, it just chokes out trees.
Well, yeah, it wraps, it goes around the little saplings out in the woods. I spend hours up there cleaning those things off.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway, next on the list are the site visits, and other than the site visit to 185.
oh. Is that the UMass?
No, this, I'm all of a sudden being allowed to share. Late better than never, right?
Nowhere.
We've got the Aldridge Mill site that we're gonna, but Bill, you had said let's do that later in the spring, more like May or June.
Yeah, I'd like to do May. I'd like to do it early to mid-May before the leaves get too leafy.
61 Pleasant Street at Five Corners, we've already talked about that. And then what we do have to do are the gravel pits, the 3 gravel pits on our list, the Naraki, Andrick, and Orland gravel pits. So we don't have any site visit determinations because we haven't completed. Next meeting we will, based on that. And then,
How about Gary Toth's project, Dave? He's coming up on 2 years, isn't he?
should
Pleasant-
be, yeah,
Pleasant Street.
it's Gary Toth and also the 35 Barton Street, Nellie, and,
Valley. You might want to give them a call and just ask them if they want us to come out and do a closeout.
what I was thinking of doing is going to the land registry in Northampton, look up their sites to see if they ever recorded the certificate of compliance.
If they haven't, they gotta.
If they haven't recorded it, it's like, there's actually no benefit for them to file a certificate of compliance because they, or request for COC. Say they don't have to worry about it.
So
But-
it's
but-
now,
But again, when,
Yeah.
this is for the record, for our viewers watching. When you obtain an order of conditions, you are obliged to seek a certificate of compliance within 3 years of the issuance of that order. If you don't,
You're obliged to register it at the registry of deeds.
whether at the,
Right.
at the time
At the
that it's
time
issued.
you receive your determination,
Right.
you're obliged to register that determination. It's not the commission's responsibility, it's the homeowner's
Right, and
responsibility.
then within 3 years, the closeout, the COC document, certificate of compliance need be issued. If you're delinquent, then additional fees may be incurred by the owner. Okay. What else, sir?
I don't have, we didn't receive any correspondence, so it'd just be if there's any points that members had that they wanted to enter into the record.
Bob, Kev, Ann? Okay, 8:07, I move we close tonight's meeting. All in favor? Very good, thank you, thank you.